All right, so another thing I want to share from her book is the book calculator. Um, and so I use 10 pages in 20 minutes just because I like the way the math works out. So it's totally fine to give this example and then change it and make it less if you're doing elementary or if you're doing middle school. Try to do something that's kind of realistic for their age range. So I like to do it for upper middle school and high school. So 10 page, if you can read 10 pages in your book in 20 minutes, times 3 times a week is 1 hour. So if you get 3 times a week in class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is how I usually made sure they never miss that reading time, because we have drills and we have assemblies and pep rallies, so time things get cut. I never cut their reading time down to less than 3 times a week. So anyway, reading for 20 minutes a week is 1 hour. So that's 30 pages for that book a week times 52 weeks if they keep that up all summer, which we want them to, and during breaks. That's over 1,500 pages a year. Now, to see what that equals in book speak, is to divide 1560 pages by the number of pages in their current book. Excuse me. So they're going to have um, different answers for each student based on how many, maybe they're reading a short poetry book, so it's got 180 pages. Maybe they're reading a long book by Stephen King, so it's got 890 pages. So I just do a basic 300 because that kind of hits middle school and it hits high school, is 5.2 books a year, reading for only 1 hour a week. So when teachers tell me I don't have time to read, I'm like, well, do you listen to podcasts? You could listen to an audiobook. Do you watch TV at home with your family? How often? Oh, every night for several hours. Okay, pick one of those, TV shows that's been turned into a book. Read the book first, then watch the show with your family. So finding ways to encourage everyone on your campus, but especially your students, to keep reading. And like this has always been mind-boggling for them. And I do this about midway through the year or midway through really focusing on conferencing and SSR time. Because if I do it too early, they're like, I'll never read that. But if they see the books that they've already read, they're like, wow, I've already read like 5 books. I've already read like 5 books with 300 pages in it since we started this in February. So you're like, wow, that's even more books that you can read in a year. So this is, again, just for the book they're currently on, but a lot of them will go back and do it with the next book they're reading. And I just had this written on my board and let them take a picture as they left because they were so excited to see, like, again, the 10 pages works out pretty nicely. But, you know, if you're really only committing to 1 hour a week, that's only school time, that's outside of weekend time, that's amazing. And my homework for students was always 20 minutes of reading, whether it was a book, whether it was the news, whether it was, professional people on Instagram writing about important things like mental health or, issues affecting them. But reading something for 20 minutes with the encouragement that it was a book. The next thing, the course outline, we are a 6-week class. I'm going to post things early, the discussion questions, and you can do it at your leisure. So if you haven't done the introduction chapter 1 yet, don't feel like you're behind. Like if you need 2 weeks to spend like a Saturday or Sunday to read and catch up, that's fine. I want this to work for you. Um, and then, yeah, you even get like an extra week at the end because I give you like a buffer week. And every so often, I'll just kind of check in and be like, hey, you're going to finish the application piece because I want to get your name in to Debbie Tanton as soon as possible so that you're guaranteed your pay hours on your June check. So, but most of the time, people get it done on time or within the week or two grace period because we're good. We're awesome because we end like March 9th, I think, right before spring break. So if you need that week of spring break to be like, wow, I really want to go back and read chapter 9, or I want to read that extra section at the end, because she weaves in stories about her students who were struggling readers, who really worked with her and gave her trust in what she was giving them to read, and then they became lifelong readers. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is the application piece. This does not have to be fancy. If you don't know how to use a book creator or Clipchamp or Canva or Wakelet, it's fine. This can be a Google slide where you just type out your bullet point list of what you want to do. So your application piece is just supposed to be basically your action plan for how you want to incorporate what you've learned in the book um, in a meaningful way. So if you want to really focus more on SSR time, and I know some teachers are hesitant to let students use the digital library in their classroom because they're worried they're going to flip over and or click over and do a game. Well, have them all face put them in rows and face one way for a few weeks. Give them that freedom to read virtually um, on the digital library, because they have settings on there for dyslexic students that really help them be able to read a lot easier, and people who need the text a little bit bigger than what some books, hardcover books are putting out. They can change the font, they can change the color background, and just kind of walk behind them with your book. You can kind of fake read for a little bit and then be like, hey, knock on their desk, make sure you get back to your book. Hey, knock on their desk, get back to your book. And that's kind of an encouraging way to really help them know that you're monitoring them, but also giving students who can stay on a book on the digital library that freedom to really play around with that. And then there's a Sora app they can download on their phone if they have it, and then they can use it at home, or they can use it on their Chromebook. And I always use the example: I don't read on my work or personal laptop at home. I always use the digital app, and I just swipe quickly because I need the font bigger because I don't like to read my reading glasses. So this doesn't have to be super specific. If you're struggling with this, reach out to me and I'll give you a couple examples of other students, but you're teachers. But we're all lifelong students, of other teachers in the class that have done something. But I also encourage you, if you haven't used a Jamboard, or you haven't used a Wakelet, or you haven't had fun with Canva, like play around with those, because you can use them in your classes. So it's also a way. I'm a librarian, so I'm also a text junkie. So if you want to use a new technology with that, it's a safe way to do that. And if you have any questions about any of these or something else, like, again, reach out to me. You can post your questions on the stream, especially if you think anyone has advice about it. You can post it as a private question on the application piece and be like, hey, have you ever used Clipchamp? Like, I've used all of these and I enjoy them, but if you're like, this is too much, I can't do it, we can find you something comparable that you like. I know even YouTube will just let you record and you can just sit and talk, and I'm the only one who's going to watch it. I don't turn in the application pieces. I will give you feedback on it as a way to kind of encourage you forward and be like, yeah, this is amazing. I've read it. I've seen it. Have you also thought about maybe doing this with that? But yeah. And then the last one is questions or extra thoughts, which I'm just going to have you guys post on the stream, or you can post. I can add an extra slide to our Jamboard of questions and thoughts. And I appreciate the people who emailed me right away about rescheduling. Even though this was a virtual meeting originally, anytime we have school canceled, all school things have to be canceled, even virtual things. And we had to consider, like, maybe with the snow, and it was day 3 was Thursday, maybe people lost power, or, I know I had my 11-year-old son who was kind of bouncing around the house while my wife was trying to work from home. So that was kind of a struggle, keeping him quiet through her meetings. So please, please, please don't hesitate to rush out. I tried to make this a little bit shorter so that you could do it in your own time. And I look forward to seeing your responses and reading along with you guys for the next 6 weeks.